Hello, everyone. It's Dr. James Marcum with a biblical prescription for life. Thank you for spending time with me today. Today, we're going to talk about hypertension. It's the hidden killer. We can't talk about this enough because it's a leading risk factor for cardiovascular disease. That's heart attacks and strokes. Don't want anyone to have that. Let's start with a biblical prescription, Matthew 11:28. It says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Come to me, worship me, be with me, spend time with me, being in relationship. If you're under stress, heavy laden, and a gift, the gift of rest. Physiologically, that's very important. So hold that with you as we talk about hypertension today. Hypertension is a leading risk factor for cardiovascular disease. So if you have hypertension, whether you know it or not, that predisposes you, puts you at a higher risk of stroke, heart attack, aneurysms, damage to your kidneys. In fact, the World Health Organization estimates that 1.28 billion, not million, billion people have hypertension. In the United States, 47% of all people have hypertension. If you're over 65, there's a 70% chance that you will have hypertension. It's been estimated that about 7.5 million deaths globally are related to hypertension. So a number that's given for hypertension is 130/80. 130 is the number that is the pressure that's in your blood vessels while your heart's pumping. When it's that's called the systolic pressure. When it's relaxing, that's a diastolic pressure. That's the lower number, that's the pressure in the system. And if it's consistently above 130, consistently over 80, that's a problem. You might be diagnosed with hypertension. Of course, these numbers can vary based on individual people and individual circumstances, but that's the number. So first of all, you need to know if you even have it by checking your blood pressure, and we'll go over that in a minute. The second thing, if you have it, you have to decide, well, what's causing it? Well, most people, it's caused by lifestyle, being heavy, inactivity. Could be caused by different factors like drinking alcohol or taking too much processed food, which has sodium. It might be because you're under a lot of stress or have chronic pain. It might even be your family history. So it could be a lifestyle cause. Of course, you could have a medical cause. Some of the more common causes are sleep apnea, kidney disease, hormonal abnormalities. Certain medications can cause it as well. But once you determine that you have it, look at the cause. Then you and your provider have to see, well, how do you want to handle this? Of course, treating the cause is what I would recommend. Some people choose to go medical, but I think that you should know about biblical prescriptions or biblical ways to lower blood pressure. So I'm going to give you 3 biblical prescriptions to lower blood pressure today. And the first one is in the book of Daniel. Daniel, so let's go over to Daniel. And Daniel lived about 600 before Christ. So Daniel was a very smart guy, and it's in Daniel 1, verse 12. And this is Daniel. He's asking, he says, "Please test your servants for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink." So that's what he asked for, vegetables and water. And then after a short period of time, in all matters of wisdom and understanding, the king examined him and found them 10 times better than everyone else that didn't eat that. And also their countenance looked well as well. So if you think about it, vegetables have nitrates. Nitrates get converted to nitric oxide, which makes the blood vessels enlarge, helps the endothelium relax. So this is what we want, a healthy endothelium. And Daniel and his friends got it by eating vegetables, lots of grains, arugula, spinach, beets, things of that nature can be used if you eat them regularly to lower blood pressure to improve endothelial function. And this was a principle that was known years before the science of nitric oxide had even been discovered. In fact, Hippocrates, who lived in the 460 to 370 range a couple hundred years later, he said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." So maybe Hippocrates got that information from the Babylonian Empire, and then when the Greeks took over, he got that information about Daniel, who was second in charge, and applied it to his patients and found that this helped them do better as well. Who knows? It's a possibility. So that's one biblical prescription. A second biblical prescription is found in Genesis 1 verse 30. Genesis 1 verse 30. So let me read that to you here. "Also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food." And it was so. So it talks at creation about giving herbs as being something good. Well, we now have science to once again prove the Bible's true. The Bible is way ahead of scientific studies. So you can believe the truths in the Bible even if science has yet to prove it. But the herbs, he's given it to eat. Well, we know that herbs lower the blood pressure. Specific herbs, garlic has been studied, hibiscus, flax, these have been studied very well. Other herbs that might help to a lesser degree include ginger, cinnamon, olive leaf extracts, turmeric, those type of things. So you want to add those herbs to your diet, especially if you have high blood pressure. Now talk to your provider. Now, if you're treating blood pressure, you might treat on many different factors at once until the blood pressure is under good control. So you might have to take a medicine for a while. You might work on lifestyle. You might work on these biblical prescriptions. Then when it's down, he might be able, or the doctor or whoever provider it is, might be able to get rid of some of these other medications. So that's a good one. But the one I wanted to close on is Matthew 11:28. The text we started with, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." So just the process of coming to him, worship, lowers blood pressure. Well, we're now having the science to show that worship lowers adrenaline, cortisol, inflammation, stress, which raises blood pressure. It makes these healthy things. It stimulates your epigenetics to turn down or down-regulate the genes which cause stress. Worship is a way to lower blood pressure as well. So I wanted us to be aware of hypertension because it affects so many people. Now, there's a 60-second way that you can check and lower your blood pressure, and I encourage you to do this or give it a try. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. A lot of people, when they get their blood pressure checked, they don't do it correctly. They have stimulants on board, they're excited, and that will bring it up temporarily, then it comes back down. We call that situational high blood pressure. That's normal, but it's a blood pressure that stays up every single time that we have to worry about it, but you have to take your blood pressure correctly. So you want to have both feet flat on the floor, take some deep breaths to relax, have it measured at about the arm level, and see what your blood pressure is over several times. And you want to take that into your provider's office because frequently when you go to the provider, you're a little bit nervous. So I'm going to give you a method today to check your blood pressure. So here is a blood pressure cuff. And here's a way to lower it, especially if you're under stress, okay? And so I'm going to place this blood pressure cuff on here. Let me get it on my arm. Now, you're supposed to take your shirt off, but I'm not going to scare you by taking my shirt off today. I'm just going to take it over. So it might be a little bit higher when you put it over your clothes. But this 1-minute techniques is as follows. You sit down quietly, feet flat on the floor, arm at about the level of your heart. Close your eyes, inhale through the nose, hold it for 3 or 4 seconds, blow it out slowly. Do that for 1 minute, okay? And also, I'm going to think about that text today about worshiping God, coming to Him and ask Him to give me that peace that will also lower that. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to be praying to God, thinking about that text. So let me practice that with you. In through the nose. You want to do that for about 1 minute, then check your blood pressure. So here I'm going to check your blood pressure. I'm using this device right here. Got it at a Walgreens. It's very accurate. I checked it with my provider. Hit the button there. Make sure it starts to work, and I'm going to take my deep breaths while I do it. So into the nose. So that's a great way to lower your blood pressure, a minute exercise when you're under stress. And I'm a little bit under stress from being here today, but I'm going to give it to you there. It's 116/78. That is a very good blood pressure. When I came up here, I measured it earlier, and it was 123/80. So I lowered it quite a bit just by doing that 1 minute exercise. Closing my eyes, holding it in my nose, breathing slowly outly for 60 seconds. And I also prayed, Lord, come into me, give me that rest. So there are 3 biblical prescriptions that you can use. Daniel 3:12, a plant-based diet with greens and nitrates. Genesis 1:30, the herbs that you can apply. But most importantly, Matthew 11:28, the epigenetics. When you worship God, you get to know God. When you know God, He gives you back to the chemistry of love, away from selfishness. You make dopamine, oxytocin. You turn down the adrenaline, cortisol. You have better genetics. So you do that, you see what truth is. And as you love God, you want to be obedient and follow Him closely. You want these biblical prescriptions. You long for them. So those are ways that you can deal with high blood pressure. And awareness is important, having a game plan. So I want you to share this with your friends and neighbors. If you have other ways that work for you that are positive, please leave them below, especially if you have encouraging texts that might help people as well. So we want to share this information about how God wants to be involved in your health, in your healing, and in worship. That is such a key component. We now have the science. We're developing the science to, again, confirm the truths found in the Bible. So I'm Dr. James Marcum, and I'm going to be back soon with yet another biblical prescription for life.